Okay. First off, thank you so much to the entire Metri Alumni Association for giving us this opportunity of being resource person for the same college that has groomed us into what we are today. So thank you so much. And all the participants from the previous sessions, I see that you all are pretty engaging in all the sessions. Like you all are very enthusiastic participants, which is a great encouragement. So I'm really looking forward to that same enthusiasm and engagement in this session as well. So good evening, everyone. And today's session, basically, if I am to give a little intro, all I would say is, studying criminology and studying crime and all of this, it has become like one thing that is a constantly nagging question to us every time we talk to an offender and every time we talk to a victim or go through a case file. We always feel like, what if someone could have prevented this? Sorry, it's like, what if the pre-crime scenario could have been taken care of? What if our general lifestyle choices could have been improved? And what if that had been put under a certain checks and balances system so that it never even got to this? Now, of course, if there is any sociology student here, they would also tell you, and as good a criminologist, that the idea of a crime free society or a suffering free society is very much an utopian idea that doesn't exist. However, we do understand that with certain changes in our way of thinking, in our way of living, in our lifestyle, not only in terms of food and like lifestyle in terms of where we go and what we wear and what we eat, but also in terms of how we look at life, how we accept ourselves, how we look at others, that has a lot to do with the experiences and how we perceive them. We do not have any control over what happens to us, but we most definitely can exercise some considerable level of control over what we do with the experiences that happen to us. So, on that note, I thought of doing two very short timed activities to help us sit with our thoughts and write it down, or at least be honest with ourselves. So, all the participants, I would request all the participants to please be ready with a pen and paper. And you can use the chat box to let me know, like when you're ready, when you're not. Please use the chat box to let me know. So, do you have a pen and paper ready at hand? Okay. Okay, great. Okay. So, okay. Is my screen visible? All right. So, let's say that this year has been especially difficult for everyone. How many of us can identify with the pictorial representation in the next slide? Pardon. Okay, I asked, Priyanka, I asked that this pictorial representation in the next slide of sort of like everything is a puzzle around, and but we are still just trying to keep up. How many of us can identify with this? Self calmness, Nisha, okay. And okay, Atulya is saying to be calm in any situation. How often can we do that? How much is it possible for us to be calm in every situation? Soumya chanting Om, okay, that is one way, of course. Anu, to be calm. Meditation can help. How many of us do meditate? How many of you do meditation? Sanjana, Nisha, Diksha, Nikita Gaur, great. Niyati, wow, okay, that's wonderful. So, okay, that's great. Ipshita also had a session on meditation. So, I would like to ask you to, in that pen and paper, write down whatever is on your mind right now. Whatever it is, like no judgment, nothing, no filters, whatever thought you have, be it your greatest fear, your anxiety, anything you're angry about, anything, just write it down. Anything that's troubling you, that you're happy about, everything. We can have 1 minute for that, and you can write down. Like, here's a timer, if you can see. Jyoti, Nisha, Nandini, oh great. Done. Okay. Okay, Archie, Bhavna, Astha, Neplong, please correct me if I am pronouncing your name wrong. Madhu, Niyati, Ritu. Okay, that's also the end of the timer. So now that all of us have written that, okay, done, right? So now that we have written that, in this next slide, in the next slide, several emotions that we feel almost every day, if not every hour. So whatever you have written that, try to associate each incident with one or the other of these emotions. It can be more than one. There is no right or wrong answer to this. Just go ahead and try to connect with these emotions and with what you have written. And this time it's a 2 minutes timer. So you can think, add on to the list, just put your thoughts out on paper. We have a few more seconds. You can add on to the list or remove anything. It's entirely up to you. And don't worry, I won't even ask you to read it out loud. So you don't have to share this with anyone. It's only for your own understanding. All right. So are we done? Oh, okay. Everyone has used the chat box to describe their present state of mind. That's great. Nikita, afraid, dreamy, frustrated. Shweta, lost and peaceful. Priyanka, lost and annoyed. Niyati, happy, surprised, dreamy. Okay, great. Unpredictable life. Chalu God, yes, exactly. Sakshi, frustrated, not annoyed. Nisha Pudar, happy and stable. Bhavna, anxious, nervous, excited. Nandini, okay. So now that we had just 3 minutes or 2 minutes rather to sit alone with our own thoughts, did it help us calm down a little bit? At least a little bit. Did it help you to calm down? Okay. Yes, a little bit. Okay, absolutely. So the reason why I wanted you all to do this is only to make you all more receptive to the next part of the session. And this is something that we can do every day before we start with our work, whatever it is, or before we start with the day. If any day or at any time of the day you feel like really frustrated and very overwhelmed or anything, and you think that you cannot focus, you can do this. You can just take a piece of paper and do the same exercise that we did right now. Just write down whatever is on your mind. Like, no judgment. There is no questioning of why am I thinking this? Should I be thinking this? There's no right or wrong about it. You don't have to think of whether you should or whether you shouldn't. Just write it down, okay, and try to understand this. Okay. Now that we are done with this, let's put a break on this particular exercise. Turn the paper over or take a new sheet, and we'll move on to the next exercise. We'll come back to this later. We'll continue with this later. Take a new sheet. So now I'll show a puzzle on the screen, right? Consider it to be a maze. And I'll give you 3 minutes time. After I finish the question, I'll start the timer. Think of a solution, okay? And then we'll discuss it in the chat box. So first I go with the puzzle. And okay, I like this sharing the screen and it's taking a little more time. So please bear with me for that. Okay, this is the puzzle, right? Now consider that these circles are your destinations, and the different lines that you see connecting the circles, those are the different pathways. Okay. Now imagine this is you. Now what do you have to do? Your aim is to reach every single destination just once mind you, only once. You cannot reach the same destination twice. That is, you cannot reach the same circle twice, and you cannot walk the same path twice. So you have to reach every circle just once, and you have to walk across every line only once. That is the condition. But what do you have to fulfill? You have to reach every circle and walk across every line. Do we have any doubts? I'll just check the chat box to see if we have any doubts. Do we have any doubts? Participants, did you all understand? No, as in no doubts, or you did not understand? Swarnali, Soumya, Anukumari. Okay, no doubt. Okay, right. Yes, understood? Okay, so we start the timer. Think about it, okay? Like you have 3 minutes. Think about it, and after that, we'll discuss if there's a possible way and what is the possible way, if so. So now I'll put the screen back on. And I'll start the timer of 3 minutes. Think about it. We have 2 more minutes. You have about a minute left now. Ten seconds. And that's it. Okay. Solved. Okay, Archie says solved. Archie, can you write in the chat box? Like, can you describe? Or if it is only Archie, then I think you can also unmute yourself and speak. Okay, Swati also says solved. So you can use the chat box, and if it's just one or two people, then you can. Okay, no, it's more than one or two people. Wow, Swarnali. Okay, can cover all circles but not all lines. All right. Okay, first let's go with the three people who say that they have solved it. Archie, Swarnali, and Swati. Can you please unmute yourselves and share your solution if possible, or you can use the chat box, of course. Shweta as well. Girls. Okay, so Swarnali, Nisha, and Astha have the same answer. Those who say it's been solved, if you can hear me, then you can either. Okay, I think Aru, Atri, are you speaking? Okay, participants who say that they have solved Swarnali, Swati, Archie, Shweta, can you please use the chat box to share the solution? Okay. Okay, so Archie has changed her answer. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll go with this because okay, we also need to finish it up on time. So I'll go with the answer that you can reach all the circles but not all the lines. All right. So how about, let's say let's say this time it's you, and you can take the help from one more person, but the conditions remain the same. By the way, every circle also you can go to just once, and you can walk through every line only once. Okay, you cannot go to a circle twice or walk across the same line a second time. So please keep that condition in mind. How about now you just have one other friend with you to finish the puzzle? Now is it possible? I'll give you 2 minutes for that. Now is it possible? You have about a minute left.
Arunima, Archie is asking, we cannot use the same lines again, but is it possible that we do not cover every line?
30 seconds.
Arunima, can you hear me?
Kritika, I think Arunima has removed her earphones.
Uh, I don't think she can hear me.
Last 5 seconds. You can check and recheck. And anyone who has a solution, okay, time's up. Now I'll add one more question together and then I'll go back to the chat box. Okay, so now let's say that you have the same conditions to fulfill, and I'm repeating the conditions again and again so that you are careful about it when you are thinking of the solution. That is, you cannot repeat the circle or the line. You cannot repeat any one circle or any one line more than once. But this time you go in a group. Let's say now you're four of you. Can you reach all the destinations walk across all the possible paths without repeating any amongst the four of you? And you'll only have a minute for this since the number of person has increased. So just one more minute.
Arunima, am I audible to you? I don't think so.
Okay. So now I'll go back to the chat box to check your answers. And let's see. Okay. Can each person cross every line once or combined once? Okay, that was combined once. Can reach circle but not all lines, and we cannot use the same lines again. Possible that we do not cover? No, it's not possible that you do not cover every line. That was a condition that you have to walk across every line. Okay. Manisha Yadav says no. So, how many of you said that the problem is not solvable under any of the conditions? Manisha, okay. Others? Anukumari, okay. Me too. All right. So whether you were just one person or two persons, three, four persons, it was not solvable, was it? Okay, that's a nice take, Diksha. Atulya, okay, that's right. And in life, of course, we need to choose different path, but for this particular puzzle, you were free to walk across all the lines. You didn't have to choose just one or leave any other. Okay, so participants would anyone else like to share their solution, or shall we move on to the discussion? Participants, you can use the chat box or even plug in because you can't hear us when you use Richa ma'am, my headphones are on.
No, a while ago you had, I think, removed them and Kritika was saying something and you couldn't hear her. So that is why I suggested that you just keep them plugged in.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry, ma'am. Kritika, I'm sorry. Can you please repeat what you were saying?
No, actually, while solving the questions, the students had some of the doubts whether they have to cross the lines once or twice. So that is what I was saying because you were on full screen, you could not see in the chat box, so I was repeating those questions. No issues now.
Oh,
We can
okay.
move
All
forward.
right. All right. I'm sorry. Thank you, Kritika, for helping me out with that. Okay. So the first question, that if you are the only one and you have to solve this puzzle, like you have to reach every circle and also walk across every line just once, that does not have a solution. In fact, if there are any computer science students here, you all might have been taught this, okay, in your like programming basics. Okay, this is one of the classic puzzles. It's called the Eulerian path principle. So if there is just one person who has to reach all the circles, walk across all the lines, it's really not possible, and it does not have a solution. I'm not going into the whole mathematical or graphical part of why it does not have a solution, but it does not have a solution, and I just wanted to see the answers. So no, that did not have a solution. But with two people, you can actually solve it. In the sense, if one person covers the right half of the image, okay, let's consider this, the three circles on the pointers, the centered three circles, okay, of the diamond shape in the vertical line. So if you consider that as a dividing line and one person covers one half of the image, the other person covers the other, then it becomes manageable, right? However, with more than two people, there'll be a lot of crossovers. You cannot, I do understand that question. And yes, who asked that? Okay, I'll just ask her. It was a very good question, that can each person cross every line once or combined once? Yes, that is a consideration. If I say combined once, then no, it's again with more than two people, it's not solvable because there will be crossovers. However, with only two persons, it's a bit more manageable. Now, if I just leave it at that, how would you connect it with your life experiences? I'll then go on with what thought I have in mind or why I'm sharing this with you. But first, I want to listen to you. Please go ahead and let me know how would you connect this thought, that you have a puzzle, you alone cannot solve it. With only one other person, you can easily solve it. But with the addition of more number of people, it is supposed to be easier, but it is not, and it again becomes unsolvable. So what is your takeaway from this? Please let me know. Neha, okay. If you're a third year student, I can totally feel you. More advices we take, more mugged up it becomes. All right. Great. Anyone else? Anyone else? Diksha, it means we need people, one or more in our lives to reach a destination. Sure we do. Other participants? Nisha, more people, more competition, less choices. All right. Ashi, maybe you need people in your life whom you can walk with to solve problems with different solutions everyone have. Okay. Okay. So now I'll go back to all of you, right? I mean, of course, there's no right and wrong answer to this. So for a few seconds, no, we can live alone. We need company. Okay. So for a few seconds, I'm going back to the presentation, and I want to share with you why I came up with this. Okay. So let's go back and let's look at this. You know, why I wanted to share this with you is this, that I mean, we all come across so many things in life, okay, and it becomes very overwhelming a lot of times if we alone think that we will solve everything or we will manage everything by ourselves. Forget about solving. If we just go by this dictum that we will manage everything by ourselves, we have become so uh, over overachievable that like we have such high aspirations that we always aim to have superpowers, you know, like we'll do everything, we'll manage everything all at once, and somehow that has been glorified socially also, and in terms of accolades and achievements and certificates and all of that, that we think that that is the way to go, to get everything, to be everywhere at the same time and complete this and get this certification and do this in life, and also become a musician, become good at studies, become a public personality, like become everything, become a writer, author, all of that. But sometimes it's also important to understand that we need to shed the whole superpower aspirations and accept our own limitations. Accepting our weaknesses or limitations is not a weakness. It's completely fine to not be good in everything. It's completely fine to be terrible at something. It's absolutely all right. That is not a shortcoming. And it is also all right if you cannot manage everything in life by yourself, personal, professional, career, all of it all together. And that is why it's important to reach out. Reach out to people, reach out to your elders, your teachers, parents, and reach out, share what you're going through, and ask them for help, ask them for advice, ask them what they would suggest and what they would do. Now, here are two things. When we ask people, what would you do in this situation? Please understand that the person you're asking this question to is really not in that situation. And also, when we are asked for advice, for a considerable amount of time, you know, I would always answer this question. Like whenever a friend would come up, share something, and ask me that, what would you do in my situation? I would always answer that question. And we have this way of talking. कि, अरे इसके जगह मैं होती तो मैं तो ये करती. Like they always have that way of talking. Even as third persons, even for people we don't know, for situations we don't know, we tend to do that. But you know, it's very important for us, whether we are giving advice or whether we are receiving advice, to understand that we are nobody to take that decision for the other person. There is no saying what we would really do if we were in that situation. So let's shed this whole, what would I do if I were there? I am not there. And same goes for you. Whenever you're asking for advice, please do not ask, what would you do if you were me? Try to understand that person is not you and you are not that person. Ask that person about what are the possibilities that can be taken up and what are the pros and cons of each. And then you have to be the ultimate decision taker. That has to be you. Again, when I say reach out to people, ask for help, it is very important. Yes, it is important. But you know what is all the more important? Especially whenever we are going through a phase, like I believe that most of you are third year students or soon to be third year students and out of college and all of that. Already the fact that you are taking part in this and continuously working towards upskilling yourself, that speaks a lot. And congratulations to you all for being so self-aware already, all of you. However, we forget a very important aspect that needs to be taken care of. It is super important to be rightfully vulnerable. Being vulnerable is graceful and it is a skill, but being rightfully vulnerable is wisdom. So let's understand that, like I said, accepting our weaknesses is not a weakness, it is a strength. but preserving that strength is equally important. So, the moment we start adding everyone, and we start, like someone also mentioned, that we too many advisors gets us bogged down. Yes, it's true. When we add too many people to the equation, it becomes all the more difficult for us, all the more confusing for us, and who knows, it also increases our chances of being swayed away in not a very wise, not a very right direction. So do reach out to people, do ask for help. You don't have to do everything by yourself. You really don't. Okay. Like this quote that we don't need any superpower aspirations. Being human is enough. Being a super human being is not needed in life. Humanize yourself, and that is all you need. And why do I uh, continuously emphasize so much on bringing your taking care of your own mental peace? Because remember one thing, we can never pour from an empty cup. We need to keep refilling our own cups. In the true sense, if we really want to be there for other people, if we really want to support our friends, our family, and everyone else, if we want to give back to the world, it's super important to remember that we need to take care of our own mental peace as well. And that comes with acceptance. So the next time, we are in this whole, let me think what to do, let me think who to talk to, and whether or not I should even open up. Yes, you should open up. You should talk to people. But please remember to be rightfully vulnerable. Before all of that, please accept the fact that everything people say, every advice they say, we need to take it with a grain of salt. We need to assess, because let's face it, even when we are asking for advice, we don't share every minute single detail we are going through with this person. There is always something that only we know. So ultimately, we will be the best people to decide. Okay. Now, when I say accept, we need to accept our decisions. We also need to accept the consequences of it. So before deciding on anything, let us stop, pause, and think for ourselves, are we ready to accept the consequences as well? And then decide. Now, what do I not mean by acceptance? I don't mean justification. Okay. When I say let's accept ourselves, let's accept our faults, let's accept other people the way they are, I most definitely do not mean that we start justifying everything we do, even if it's a mistake, or we start justifying somebody else's actions. I just mean we accept that is the way they are, that is what they have done. Full stop. I'm not talking about rationalizing it, reasoning it out, and forcibly making it right. No. All I'm saying is simply to see it as a third person and let it be. Understand that that has been done. We cannot change it. We can only take things forward from here. There's something else that I most definitely do not mean when I say acceptance. That is, just because we accept someone else as the person they are, it's not equal to allowing that person in our lives. We can accept someone exactly the way they are. We can accept a circumstance exactly the way it is. But that is not the same as allowing that person in our life, or allowing that same circumstance in our life. If we can draw a line, we most definitely must draw a line, because this drawing a healthy boundary is part of accepting our own limitations. That this is the level of our tolerance. We do accept you the way you are, we understand why you are the way you are. That is it. But just because I understand you doesn't necessarily mean I need to allow you in my life. And it's completely all right to part ways with someone, with a friend. I'm not even talking about, I'm talking of every single relationship. It can be a friend, it can be a colleague, it can be anyone in your life. Okay. It can be a personal relationship, it can be a professional relationship, but accepting the person, accepting that person's flaws and strengths and all of it is most definitely not equal to justification or allowance. It's simply letting them be. It's just understanding that we live and we let live. And with that, I also want to remind you that this whole idea of accepting you is because I truly believe that, you know, we should stop expecting anyone else to accept us if we cannot accept ourselves. So please remember that you matter. So it's super important for you to accept yourself first. And that is where it all starts. And it all starts with your own self awareness. Now we can go back to the first exercise that we did. Okay, everything that I asked you to write down and why I did that. So that was the end of the presentation. I really on the PPT slide, but I'll definitely read your comments. I want to, but going back to the first activity that we did, everything that we had written. Here's the thing. Okay, all that we had written down that particular paper, I want you to go back to that paper. Okay, and I want you to now scan through it with a different look. The different outlook would be this: from that particular paper, now I want you to pick out what are the things that you can yourself take care of. What are the things for which you need someone's help? And what are the things which are completely out of your control? You really can't do anything about it. But the problem itself, or whatever you've written down itself, can be something that you can do nothing about. For example, the whole pandemic that's going on. There's nothing that I personally can go and do to stop the spread of COVID. But there are very little things that we can take care of: maintaining personal hygiene, safety, social distancing, all of these things. That's just one aspect of the story. Now go through that list, and you don't have to share this with anyone. I'm not even asking you to read it out loud, but sit with yourself and first figure out what are the things that you can do by yourself, what are the things that you can reach out to. And every time you think of reaching out to someone, please remember the words rightfully vulnerable, and think and pick and choose the people you really, really want to seek advice from. So now I'll go back to the chat box and any comments from you. That was all from my side for now, for today. Hemlata, maybe it means if we want to reach a destination, the way is not easy. We have to face a lot of problems. Yes, of course. So if I know this whole self-acceptance thing is very easy and sounds very high and mighty, but is like not as easily done in practice. So now if the participants, if you have any questions about how to work on self-awareness or self-acceptance, please feel free to ask those questions. Participants, you may use the chat box to comment like whether you have a question or not, or if you want to work on the whole self-acceptance thing. Okay, Richard, what if someone continuously remind our flaws purposely? Peer pressure. Okay, great. Okay, I'll take the questions in order. Okay, Richard Raj, what if someone's continuously reminding us of our flaws? Okay, here's one thing. See, when we start accepting our flaws, Many a times we'll come across people who will think that that gives them a right to humiliate us, and often publicly, which is mean and insensitive. I do get it. But here's the thing, when we start accepting our flaws to ourselves, we take away the power from someone else to tear us down. And honestly, all this sounds very difficult and very idealistic and very utopian if you're listening to this for the first time. But trust me, I'm telling this from personal experience as well as seeing, of course, other people as well. So it goes like this, you know, when someone else is pointing out your flaws, just listen, okay? Don't accept it just at face value. Only listen to that person. Later on, see, when someone is continuously reminding you, there is no way that you can forget it or you can just ignore it. It doesn't happen. I get it. So when you're continuously recalling that in your head, again, sit with a pen and paper or simply sit with yourself and ask yourself that if this person is telling this, is it true? Did I really do this? Was it once? Was it twice? Is it every time? Question yourself and you will know best. Okay. So if you think that it was just a once or twice event and this person is bringing it up 100 times after that, it's really not your concern. You can let it go. The next time the person tries to bring up your flaws, you can just say that, listen, I really got something important to do, or I am reading something, or, I'm really busy right now. Can we talk later? And you can politely walk away from the conversation instead of like venting out your anger or anything on that person. Just let them be. However, if while questioning yourself, you realize that it is every time thing, that in fact you are doing it more often than you would want to, in that case, you need to question yourself that why did I do this? Or do I do this only with this particular person? Or am I the same way with everyone? And that is how you break down your own habits and you come back to, now what can I do about it? So that can be one way of dealing with what if someone is continuously reminding your flaws purposely. That is, you need to question yourself that was it a one-time past mistake that this person is not letting you forget? That was it a one-time past mistake that this person is not letting you forget? Or is it really your habit? Question yourself and accordingly decide. If it is a one-time past habit, just let it go. You really don't have to worry about it. As for past
Arunima, I would
forgetting and
request
moving
you
on,
to.
it's very much a myth. You just need
Arunima,
to accept it and move on with it. You cannot go back and change the mistake, but as long as you're not repeating it, it's perfectly fine. How can we question how to cope with peer pressure? Okay, about peer pressure. See, here's the thing. Social acceptance is a myth. Okay, there is nothing called social acceptance. Social acceptance is about being appreciated by a certain person for a certain amount of time. Please mute your second device. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've ended the call from the second device. All right. So I'm sorry about, there must have been a lot of voice echo. I'm really sorry about that. Okay. Peer pressure comes with our need or our continuous, we keep seeking validation from external sources and we keep wanting people to accept us, probably because we don't want to sit with our thoughts by ourselves. We just feel like, what if we want someone else to listen to us and we want someone else to tell us that yes, you're right. So that is the purpose of self-acceptance, that you don't need validation from anyone else. You don't need someone else to tell you that you're right. Of course, some form of validation is needed, which we do get in terms of, sometimes our parents praising us, or our teachers uh, telling us that this was such a wonderful work and all of that. But when it comes to peer pressure, you need to give yourself permission. That permission comes with standing in front of the mirror and telling yourself and looking at yourself and understanding that, let's say in college, I think peer pressure, even from the previous session, what I presume it is, it comes a lot in forms of how we are dressing up and how we are what we are wearing, how we are dressed, and how we walk and talk and all of that, right? So if that is the case, then I think stand in front of the mirror, okay, and ask yourself, whatever you're wearing, however you're dressed, why are you doing it? Is it really you? Do you really feel like it, or do you not? So I think it's very important for you to understand why you're behaving the way you're doing. Before that, you need to question yourself, why do you want to fit into this group? Is it because of their social life? Is it because they have a certain is it because that's the only, is it because you fear that if this group doesn't accept you, you will have to be by yourself, and you don't want to be by yourself, that cherishing your own solitude thing is not your forte? So try to understand, why do you want to be accepted? And then once you have the answers to why you want to be accepted by this particular group of peers, you will get the answers to, are there other sources of that validation? Other sources that are not related to this one particular set peer group, like if you want someone to validate the way you dress, maybe you can do that for yourself, and you never know, there might even be a stranger complimenting you. Or if it is about a certain habit, sometime or the other you will find like-minded people. If there are, like, I'll say in college, when I was part of the debating society, like seriously, I was in BSc Life Sciences but wanted to take part in extracurriculars, and trust me, that is really not a very acceptable thing, to be a science student and still want to be active in extracurriculars. Like it's like everyone is like, you're a science student, you should only be studying. So that thing goes on. But there were a lot of times when I would just stop waiting for anyone to accompany me and go and attend events. And you go there, and there you meet like-minded people. The first time, will it be easy? No. Will you go there and start talking to people? Definitely not. You will go there, sit in one corner, only be a listener, not talk to anyone, and come back. That's absolutely all right, but you will improve on it. So first, question yourself, what validation are you seeking from the peer group? And then you will find alternative answers to that particular peer group, and not giving into peer pressure. How can we make ourselves stop judging people? Okay, that's a great thing, Kritika. I love the fact that you asked this question. Okay, we stop ourselves from judging people in the sense, first question that we need to ask, is the person somebody in our life? Are we closely related? Does this person influence our life in some way or the other? Like the recent thing that's going on, of course, I'll again bring it up, the Sushant Singh Rajput thing. Everybody has an opinion. And by the way, as a criminologist, there are actually three to four different types of suicides. Every suicide is not a result of depression. Like there's a whole different ideology behind it for those who study it from a strictly technical perspective, a case study perspective. But everybody has an opinion. The whole point is that person somebody in your life? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be insensitive. All I'm trying to say is, Riya Chakraborty is nobody of yours. Neither is Ankita Lokhande, neither is Mahesh Bhatt, any of the Dharma productions, like nobody, okay? Do you know them as person? Did you ever have a personal interaction? Did any of us ever have a personal interaction? Did we get to talk to them? No, we don't. So the first question we do is, who is that person in our life? If that person is nobody, why are we bothered? we shouldn't be. Like seriously, 24 hours is not a lot amount of time if we see our to-do list. Okay, there's a lot that we have to do. So if that person is not part of your life, it's really not your botheration. However, if that person is a part of your life, first question you need to ask, why is this person saying this, or why is this person doing this? That is one thing that can always make us stop judging others. And you can even question this person. If someone is telling you something that is not acceptable, someone is like very different, has a very different ideology, ask them that, why are you saying this? What makes you say this? And maybe that person will open up and tell you about one certain experience or something because of which that person has a reason to think the way they do. Now, will it always be a justified reason? Will it be something that you can change? We always try to do that. And if we can, great. But if we cannot, then I think all we can do is try to preserve our own thoughts and try to understand this person has their own reason to be the way they are. And how to stop judging people is to understand, is to accept the fact that understanding someone doesn't necessarily mean justifying them. I think that is one of the greatest things that I have learned. Like, when you even have to talk to offenders, it doesn't matter what their crime is, but you just have to sit there and listen to them. It becomes very difficult because it's a very different ideology. So that has taught me this patience of, I understand why they do what they do, but do I justify them? No. And that is the thought that I think should be carried forward to the general civil society as well. Simply understanding why a person is angry, why a person is agitated, why a person is irritable, that does not mean justifying their behavior. It only means that I understand why you're doing what you're doing. End of story. Now I want to maintain my life. That's it. How can we accept ourselves as we are but still try to improve ourselves? Of course, we'll always try to improve ourselves. That is the whole point, Anu. This is a lifetime process. Okay, we'll never be there. This does not have a destination. This is a path. It's not a destination in itself. So we will try to improve ourselves. When I say accept ourselves, even accepting the fact I am doing everything I can to improve myself, that makes me enough. I don't have to go out and seek validation from other people that, oh, you're great, you're doing wonderful. I don't need that. I know what I am doing. It's the same with, even, I don't know if your results are already announced or not, but it's the same thing. All the students do not go through the same circumstances or the same time of the same study hours. They do not have the same retention power. They do not have the same memory. None of it. It's futile to just compare and for someone else to tell you, she scored this much and you scored this. It doesn't matter. You know the amount of study hours you put in. You know the other circumstances that you went through. And you know accordingly whether or not you did your best. So the very fact that you are able to have this own self-analysis report is enough. That is all acceptance is about. It's not about accepting yourself as a perfect human being. Most definitely not. Accept yourself that you are doing everything you can. That is it. Suppose you're friends with someone, but the same person behaves like she doesn't consider you her friend. But then again, nothing is clear and I'm confused. What should I do? Manisha, this question, I feel like there's a lot more to it. And if you want to, I think like, giving a superficial answer to this might turn a bit like tricky. So if you want to talk more about it, you can contact me over email. But superficially, all I will say is, see, when we start thinking, what did we do wrong? What did they do wrong? And we start presuming instead of questioning, which can often worsen the situation. Because all of us, the same situation, We will remember right now all this 116 people who are here as participants. Tomorrow, this 116 people are questioned about this session. Everyone will have their own version of the memory of the same session. That is the way human memory works. The same happens with friends. We all remember the incidences that matter the most to us. It is not possible for us to say what the other person remembers, what is important to them, why they are behaving this way. We will only have presumptions, which can make things go worse or better. Okay. So I am not sure how long you know this friend or how well your equation is, and all of that, are exactly after which event they have suddenly changed their behavior. I really don't know any of that. So uh, superficially, if I am to answer, I would suggest that if you are in a position to directly go up to your friend and question the friend, that can we talk? I want to know what happened. It's not a fight. You know, this is also one part. Okay, there's so much more to self acceptance, and I'm sorry, I'm like way past the time limit. But the whole thing about there's so much to it that uh, we are not taught to describe our negative emotions. Every time we think that someone is angry, we think the person is fighting, and we completely avoid the difficult conversations with everyone, with our parents, with our friends, with our teachers, everything. We don't think it's important to say sorry, or we don't think it's important to hold someone accountable, even if that person is our friend. The whole thing about, we don't understand that in every relationship, and most definitely in friendship, it is so important to have a fight. I mean, no, seriously, like, I'm not, okay, now I'm not talking of a very, like, vicious, aggressive, and brutal fight. No, but it is important to talk it out, to tell that, listen, these are the things that you have done, that you have done, and I'm not okay with it. It is important to have that conversation. So if it is a case of people avoiding difficult conversations like we do, please try to find out a way that you can sit down and talk to that person and question instead of presuming. However, if you cannot do that, I guess we don't always find closure from, and most definitely not from friendships. There are a lot of friendships that we let go, or we need to let go without closure. Right or wrong, I don't know, but, and accepting that is super difficult. But I'm not sure how to answer this, because there must be so much to it that I'm not aware of. So if you want to talk about this, please feel free to contact me over email, and I might be better able to help you out. Should we express out what we feel, what we want to do, even if it leads to disappointment to our family who is expecting too much from us? When it comes to family, again, it's a very situational call that we need to make. Okay, when it comes to family, there is so much at stake, and there is so much that we need to consider. Okay, firstly, how are we expressing it? That is very important. We need to understand one thing. For us, it is so difficult to accept our parents' thought process, right? Imagine how much more difficult, or equally difficult, it is for our parents to accept our thought process. So it is difficult for everyone to accept the other generation's views and ways. Everyone can only do so much, and everyone can only do their best. Okay, I'll give you one example of this, which may be completely unrelated to what made you ask this question, Priyanka. But like, you know, the whole menstrual taboo thing. So my mother and I, of course, have very different viewpoints. And when I started questioning these things, initially it was a huge fight, a lot of disagreements, a lot of things. But ultimately, we reached a point where it's like, my mother and I have now come to a middle point that, okay, she can be herself and she can follow whatever she wants to follow. And she has left me that, you don't want to follow it, you don't. So that is, of course, something that you can reach a middle point about. when you just understand that how much more difficult it is for this other person to give up their views, and after so many more years, like think about it, this thought and way of life that we question to our parents, they have probably lived with it for some 40, 50, or even more years, and we are questioning it now, where we are unable to change our thoughts that we have lived with only some 10, 20 years. So imagine how much more difficult it is for them. So it is very important to understand how we are expressing our feelings and how we are telling it. Okay, so that the tone in which we have the conversation, how we bring it up, is really, really important, for one. Secondly, when it comes to doing something just because your family wants you to do it, please try to understand how long will you fake it? A month, a year, a few years? But after a certain point of time, when you start burning out, you will hurt your family members as well as you. And that time you will hurt your family members more, because that time you will tend to blame everything on your. Right now, you have a choice to give in to your family's decision or to decide for yourself. But years later, or a year later, few months later, whenever that point comes, that time you will no longer be in the emotional state to take responsibility for your decision. You will not be able to come back, and you will not be able to go back in time and think that I made this choice for myself. I could have chosen to go on against my family then. That time you will not have that emotional stability. That time you will put the entire blame on your family that I did it for you. I did it because you told me to do it. And now you are complaining. So think through what, again, this is also something that giving a superficial answer is difficult, and it might end up in a more trickier situation. So that is there, that you have to understand that if you really think that you are right, if you really think that you are not being stubborn just because of proving a point and going against your family, it's not about that. It's not about ego on your part. You need to ensure that first. It's not about ego on your part. It is about rationality, it's about logic, it's about safe, healthy life choices, and it's about your right to choose your own life. In that case, how you express it and how you take this forward, how much you own your own decision and the consequences that come with it, all of that matters a lot. Question: there's no fault of us, but a society thinking due to which our loved ones always blame us. That is your fault. How to deal with it? Because sometimes it causes, yes, that can be really depressing, Sakshi. And honestly, just telling you that, you shouldn't really care about it, it's very easy to say this, but I know how much difficult it can be to actually go through this. Frankly, this is not a question which can have a 1 day, 5 minutes answer. Okay, so this is something that needs a lot of more retrospection. So if you want to talk to me, sure. If you want to consult a professional counselor, please. Just to talk through it. When we talk of professional counselor, it doesn't mean anything is wrong with you, and it most definitely doesn't mean that it needs to be a weeks, month session. You can even have a one-off or just 2 sessions with a counselor as well. That is also very much possible. So either way, this needs a lot more retrospection and a lot more questions and answers, and a conversation in itself, Sakshi. So please, I would request you, if you can talk to me, or if you need help with contacting a professional counselor, please let me know. Or if you know someone, please go ahead and talk to someone with whom you can share more about this, because this is a very serious issue. So this needs more than a 5 minutes answer. How to stop overthinking about our mistakes and forget them? Bhavna, wow. Okay, listen. We never forget. Okay, please don't expect yourself to forget your past mistakes. Like all of us, we will never forget it. Let's just accept that we'll never forget our past mistakes. we will not think about it for a really long time, and then suddenly something happens and we don't even know what triggers it, and it all comes back to us. So really, let's accept the fact we'll never forget our past mistakes, but yes, there is something about not screwing ourselves over again and again through the same thing. How do we do that? We make sure that we never repeat that mistake again. Will you stop overthinking about it? There are few quick things that you can do. Every time you're overthinking about it, get it out. Type it out, write on a pen and paper, tear off the paper, throw it off, but find the safe ways of venting out. So please try journaling. It helps a lot. Telling this from personal experience. Journaling really helps a lot in making peace with past mistakes. Okay, so try to get it out on paper. Everything you're thinking, you don't have to, like I told in the very beginning, you don't have to judge yourself that why am I thinking this? Should I be thinking this? This is not something I would want someone else to think. You don't have to judge. You don't have to think. You don't have to be ashamed of anything. You don't have to think about your thoughts. Please remember that. Whatever thought just comes to you, write it down. Just let it out and let it go. That will help a lot. Believe me, try it out. I don't know if you have already tried it out. If you have tried it once and it didn't work, please keep at it. You may not be able to do it every day, every time, but keep at it. And at one point of time, it will help you be more peace, like more peaceful and more accepting of your past mistakes, that okay, that is who I was, but that is not who I am anymore. So as long as I'm not that person anymore, it's okay, it's absolutely fine. 3 years, most important phase in life, Niyati. How to deal with the pressure of establishing ourselves. We may or may not achieve something. How to deal with it? Keep ourselves motivated all the time. Okay, a quick background check on, like, not, sorry for using the term background check, that's just habitual. I didn't mean background check, I mean like a quick recap to who I was. Okay, when I was in Maitrey, frankly, I was not a class topper or an excellent, like, the top 5 students, scholars, like, and anything like that. Okay, I've been a pretty much average student, even if you go through the my 10 and 12 results all throughout, right? Then after my graduation, I have a year's gap. I was preparing for my master's in criminology entrance, but at the same time, because criminology is something I really wanted to do, that was my plan A, but I was not sure of whether or not I would clear the entrance, because it because of the seats, the reservations, everything that goes into it. Okay, so I wasn't sure of that. So as a backup plan, I started thinking of, if not criminology, then what? And I was preparing for that backup plan. I joined a computer institute and did some courses, so that even if I don't clear the entrance at the end of the year, I'll have something in hand. So I did that. Sorry, please excuse me for that, the water break. Okay, so I had a backup plan ready, but I knew my priority. I knew that plan B is plan B. Plan B will never be plan A. So first thing, 3 years, Niyati, I think, like, from your question, I think you are a third year student. Right now, I would tell you, sit down with yourself and write down, what do you want? I mean, like, not personal, okay, in your personal life as well as in your professional life, but since we're talking about career, and that is more of my forte, let's talk about career here, that what exactly you want to do, what job prospect, what career makes you happy, what is one particular field of work that will not make, that will not burn you out over the years. So think through that, write down 2 or 3 options, and then prioritize based on your strengths, your limitations. It can be personal limitations, it can be professional limitations about shifting cases, or a lot of things. Okay, these things can be there. So thereby you decide what is plan A, what is plan B, and you need to have this clarity that your first priority is always your first priority. That is where maximum of your efforts go to. Plan B, of course, you work on it, but not as much as you work towards plan A. Then, even after that, see, I can very well understand this doubt because criminology is a very novel field in India. Like working in it is not just striving for your career, but also striving to keep the field alive itself, or even to establish the field for that matter. So it's I very much understand this. You will never have the surety of whether you will achieve something in life, even if you are in a more established career. It's not about being sure of that. I don't know if you have heard of the concept of door knockers and window openers. Try to understand what you are. Door knockers are people who would knock on a door and walk in and then see that, okay, so now this is the room that I have, this is where I have to live, that sort of a thing. Window openers are people who want a complete gallery view. They want to be able to see that this is what I would walk into across this room, and then they decide. So you don't have to be one or the other, and you really don't have to force yourself to be something because that is what works. Okay, uh, try to understand what sort of a person you are. Do you feel happy? Do you feel more content and satisfied when you have a complete gallery view of the future, or do you feel, or are you okay with like taking chances? And accordingly you need to decide. And motivation, if you can get hold of the book The Motivation Myth, then you can read that, because what I'm about to say is motivation is from that book. It's not an original thought, but I found it to be very true. Motivation is in fact a myth. Like motivation does not lead to action, action leads to motivation. We do something and then we get and then when we see the results of that, then we feel that okay, so it's like you sit, we whenever we sit to study, after 5 minutes we feel our mind drifting off. So if we just sit through the first 5 minutes and sit there and then be like, okay, so 5 minutes, just 10 minutes, okay, I'll read for just 3 minutes, and then it goes on like that. You don't have to sit with, I have to do this for 3 years. Definitely not. Just think that okay, I have to do it for just this 1 month, and let's see, and think about it. Motivation is you'll never be, we are not motivated, and you will never be always motivated. That is the reason why it becomes important to be more disciplined. I think discipline should be something that we aspire for and not motivation. How can we overcome phobias, Richa? There are so many different types of phobias, and there are different ways to overcome phobias. Again, this itself is a whole new conversation. So please contact me, or you can also contact me over email, and we can talk about this, about what phobias you're interested in or you want to talk about. Or we can or of course you can always reach out to a counselor if you are personally dealing with some phobia, or if you know someone who is dealing with phobia, please consult a counselor. Kopal Mittal, I'm a younger child and I want things to be accepted by my parents and siblings. Okay, Kopal, I am the youngest in my family. We will not be seen as grown-ups. Girl, come on. That's not happening anytime soon, anytime in the future. We will always be the youngest. We will always be the, like, अरे इस पे तो भरोसा नहीं कर सकते, इस पे तो कोई responsibility नहीं ले सकते. ठीक है, वो होगा. We will not be seen. If you are in your third year, or if you're in a graduation, you must be 20 something, but you might still be treated as a pre-adolescent or adolescent. Happens to all the younger people. There is something called the younger child syndrome and the adult child syndrome, middle child syndrome, all of that. So see, when I was talking about acceptance, I was talking about self-acceptance. I was not talking about making yourself acceptable, because that is not in our control. I am not accepted, or I may not be accepted by so many people. That is not something I can control. All I can take care of is, do I accept myself? Am I able to accept myself the way I am so that I can improve on myself? That is more important. So for you to be acceptable by parents, okay, one thing, I think you are acceptable by your parents and siblings, you know, it's not like they don't accept you. But what you really mean is they may not be treating you as grown-ups. I totally understand that. It doesn't happen. They will never treat you as grown-ups. Okay. However, what you can do is you can keep behaving as adults, and adulting is so much more than only career and like a job and uh, the professional front. Being adults also means taking responsibility. Maybe you can start taking little responsibilities with the household thing, like helping out your parents, helping out your siblings with their lives, and trying to find out what are the ways in which you can be more helpful in their life and more resourceful for them. So that can be one way of making them see that no, now you are an adult and you can be trusted. Trusted, I mean, of course, they trust you, but when I say trusted, I mean trusted with responsibilities. So that can be one thing that you can do. And if you fear that you lose confidence in yourself, uh, from time to time, you might feel overwhelmed and feel like you're not enough, and nothing you do is ever enough. So again, this needs a continuous process of questioning and retrospection. And is it really that is in someone's head, or are you really not doing enough? That is very difficult to address in one session. But for now, that is all I could think of. Further, you can. Sometimes I don't have my own opinion on things. Rather, believe in opinions of. Okay, this is Kopal. This is not only you. Trust me, this is a characteristic of most younger children. Siblings who are the younger or the youngest in the family, we are. It is because from our childhood we are always used to being brought up in an environment. You always need to be told what is good. You always need to be told what is right. You don't know that, right? I mean, uh, not necessarily in this tone. Sorry for sounding weird, but okay, that is what we are used to listening. So the thing about children is the way we talk to children becomes their inner voice. The way we talk to a child is what the child keeps telling herself or himself as they grow up. And that is the thought, that is the self-image they grow up with. So it is very important. So how to have your own opinion on things. Kopal, I really wish we can connect later. And because there is um, a whole process of going through that. To begin with, one thing that you can do is everything that you have been told and taught so far about a lot of things, start reading up for yourself. Trust me, there is no substitute to reading. There is absolutely no substitute to reading. Start reading up about yourself. Anything about any opinion that you feel that you are being um, talked over by someone else, find facts. Literally, I'm telling you, find facts. Nowadays, we have the internet. We have access to way more resources than we can read in our entire lifetime. Read up on the topic. It doesn't matter how silly the topic seems to you. You might feel like, should I even be Googling this? Do people Google this? Who cares? I mean, Google is a search engine. You don't have to think whether someone sitting there is wondering, oh my god, someone is actually Googling this and they would be judging you. Nobody cares. Trust me, nobody does. Google servers do not have that amount of time. Trust me on that. They are always too busy. So go ahead, find out. I mean, not necessarily from Google. Books are always a better source, but find out for yourself. Anything that you think that your opinion is not being valued, first thing, question your own opinion. Why do I have this opinion? Do I have this opinion because I was told this? Do I have this opinion because I think of this by myself? And if I think this way, why do I think this way? What is it that makes me think this way? Find out for yourself. You will see the more you expand your own knowledge base on that particular topic, people will not be able to shut you down. After a certain point of time, they will literally not be able to shut you down, because you will have facts, you will have but they will back off, and you don't even have to tell them that I know about what I'm talking about and back off. You don't even have to tell them that. They will. Why? Because you will, whenever someone is not listening to you, it's because the first thing we need to think is, what are we talking about, instead of why that person is not listening to you. So one thing that I would suggest for now is to start to amp up your own knowledge base, your own awareness about everything about yourself, why you hold that opinion, and what on about that matter in your society, in the world in general. Neha Chaudhary, how to make friends? Like, it's been 1 year in college, I'm not in any group. I still Neha, sach bolo. I'm the last person you want to ask this question. I've been a loner all throughout my school, college, masters. I'm in PhD. I'm in a university. Most of the time, I am by myself. I am not qualified to answer this question. However, okay, in Maitri, in that entire college, there were only 2 girls I talked to. There were only 2 girls I survived with my entire graduation until date. Okay. So Kamalpreet Kaur and Arzu Arora, the 2 other alumni members, I don't think they joined in today, but however, it was just 2 of them. Okay. And Pooja ma'am and Richa ma'am and others can tell you that I'm not exaggerating. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. Uh, I am not used to having a huge friend circle. Even in my PhD, in this entire university, I live on a university campus of 230 acres, okay, where most of the students, faculty members, staff members, I don't even know who else lives on campus itself. I can tell you of only 4 or 5 other people who I can talk to on a regular basis. The thing is, okay, but on a serious note, I do understand that it is difficult, and it takes a lot of time to come to terms with the fact that everyone else has large friends groups who they go around with, who they sit with, chat with, and all of that, and I don't. And maybe there's just 1 or 2 persons I talk to, and if they don't come to college, I'm just by myself. It takes a lot of time to come to terms with. Yes. What I'll suggest is, I do hope you have some other interest in life, in the sense, I mean, other than studies, some hobbies, some passion, something, maybe a language you want to learn, maybe a musical instrument, maybe dance, maybe, and Maitri, theatrics also is wonderful if you are into it. I know of the debating society because I was a part of it. There are so many other societies, even if you cannot join a society, because I know that if it is difficult to make friends, it is 1,000 times more difficult to go up and join a society. I absolutely understand that. You don't have to officially be a part of a society to be good in something. Uh, it's absolutely fine to, and it's very important, I will say, for you, that yes, is it okay to be alone at the end of graduation? Absolutely, Neha. There is, I am like, I am in my PhD through several internships and all of it, and it's perfectly fine. Trust me, you will survive, you will live, you will enjoy. So there's no harm to it. But yes, how can you enjoy your solitude is, please find interest in life, find what interests you, and find safe interest, please. When I say find interest in life, please be safe. Okay, like, and not only from the health and the pandemic perspective, I mean in every way, please be safe, ensure your safety, find safe interests in life, and develop those interests, work on those pursuits, and you will be fine. Ipshita, a beautiful with references without any prejudice in this verse would be cultivated. Ifshita, thank you so much. And I'm so sorry I missed your session because it was in the daytime and it was office hours. But I'm so sorry about that. But I did see the recording, and thank you so much. Gopal, sometimes we fight with the parents over logic, yet they couldn't accept our logic. Are we supposed to move on or let them realize about that? Gopal, okay, no, it's not our. Please write. See, it's not for us to let our parents realize anything. If they do, we can be grateful. If they don't, it's really not for us. Think about it. They have spent over 70% of their lives bringing us up. Maybe we don't realize it, but the very fact that we can see this logic today, the very fact that we can think for ourselves and identify logic, we actually owe it to our parents' upbringing, whether we realize it or not, whether we want to accept it or not. They may be very different from us, but they are the ones who gave us this thought process. So let's just accept, even if they don't realize it, we will be fine. They don't have to realize it. About logic, no, that it's very difficult for them to accept it as logic. And yes, we should move on. We should simply move on. As long as, again, I'll say here, I'm not encouraging you to rebel against your parents. All I'm saying is, if you really know that what you are doing or thinking is right, please make sure that it is logic and not ego. If it is logic, most definitely move on. If it is ego, we need to rethink and restructure our thoughts. Richa, Raj, why this thing happened that at some point of time we really love to do something, but at the other time we don't like doing it at all. Richa, this happens for several reasons. This can happen for so many different reasons. It depends. First question you need to ask, why did you start with it? What is it that got you started? I think that is the first question that you need to ask, and we move up from there. Beyond this, this needs a little more conversation. It cannot be a one-off answer. It has different answers for the different things that you're talking about. Thank you so much, Pooja ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. And yes, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I know you told me that a 30-minute session, but I'm so glad that you have an amazing participation, and thank you so much. And everyone else, if I couldn't answer your question enough, you can always contact me over email. Please do that. And I also have a feedback form. If you want, you can just you can use that to contact me. I will send you the link, and I'll most definitely talk to you later. But right now, I think we are way past our time, and I'm so sorry for not being able to keep it timely. But thank you so much, everyone.